Welcome back to the Boys in Motion podcast, where we dive into crazy things, fun things, and I think today is going to be a Chatterman episode because we got lots to talk about.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, if the preamble to this recording or to this podcast episode before we actually hit the record button is anything to say about where this conversation's going, I'm not sure what to expect. So tune in because we're going to be talking about a lot of fun stuff. Part of this episode, Tyler's definitely going to be in the hot seat because he just did his winter endurance challenge, a 50K ultra in the foothills of Gatineau, we'll say. And yeah, excited to dive into that and much more.
Should be a good one this week. We usually have a nice predefined docket to try to keep us, on the rails a little bit. But this one, there was just too much excitement going in, too many things to chat about. So we're going to keep it loosey-goosey on this one and just chat about whatever we feel like chatting about.
Yeah, I love this. I can't wait to just chat about anything. I think you did say a good thing because the preamble to this was pretty wild, so I'm excited to jump in. But before we get into some belligerency, I want to give a community update on what's going on right now on the Winter Challenge. We have some mega updates to provide so far. I'm seeing a couple hundreds on the docket, and of course, one of them was mine because I completed my challenge this weekend. So now I could sit back and relax and watch the rest of the crew go at it. But we also have a big shout out to Tomek with that 225 bench. That seems like it was too easy. He did it half a month into the challenge. So I think he might have to go for 3 plates, that's up for discussion.
I commented on his Strava post and I said endurance king for the 1 rep max that he hit.
Right.
But we were chirping at him in the text messages. I think he's got to do it 3 times in a row now. A set of 3. 3 by 225, that sounds nice.
That would be real juicy. That means he could actually do it. Because the one rep max, it might be a fluke. It could be a lucky day. He could have felt good that day or had a little bit too much beet juice and was feeling good. So
yeah, you never know.
I think we should challenge him.
Fair. Okay, well, Tomek, you've heard it here. If you want to get 110% completion, hit that thing 3 times. We'll see.
I like that. We also have some of our challengers, let's call them, at around or just over 50%. And we're the 15th of the month. When this episode releases, we'll be on the 16th. So it's right on track here. We have big shout out to the challenge man himself, the challenge king, Mustafa. I don't even know what challenge he's doing anymore. He's just doing them all. But he's technically at 58% on the books.
That's true, because he's doing like an advent calendar of running. So like whatever the day number is, he runs that many kilometers, right?
Exactly. And I told him yesterday was the 50th day of the month because he did 50 with me. So that was real nice.
Absolute madman.
And then I still told him, you have to do 15 today or you failed the challenge. So yeah, absolute freak. We also have Erica on track right now, 50% basically as well on her Ironman month. So she is just over 90K in the bike. She is 20K in on the run. And she, I think, has about half of the swim completed with just over 2K left on the swim. And then, of course, the power couple, John and B, both at that 5 miles a day. They actually hit their 30... Today's going to be the 31st day of that 5 mile, they started with 5Ks and then they started December 1st, the 5 miles. But today's day 30 of their consistency overall challenge. So that's also very impressive and crazy. We also have Ian at the 90 percentile right now of the half Ironman month. Again, with him just about done basically every distance. And I don't know, maybe the full Ironman is up for grabs for the end of the month. So we'll have to tease him about that as well.
Yeah, that's what I was seeing is like the people who had something of like, oh, I'll do like a half Ironman through the whole month. Like they came up on those quick. So I feel like if they're looking for an adjustment, trying to do the full is a huge reach. It's a lot of effort, but it's definitely attainable, I think, for that crew.
I think for sure, because for this 90%, I've capped Ian specifically at the swim and run distances, but he's actually already exceeded those. It's just the bike that there's about 20k left. So I think the full Ironman might be in the cards.
I like the sound of that.
Absolute freaky man. He's going to be a fish, a freaking Tade Pogi, and a Kipchoge pretty soon. So I'm excited to see what he comes out with on that one. We also have Harrison at 44%. So big ups on that 100K of running for the month. He's almost there as well, just on track, I would say. And then for the spooky people with the single day event, all at 0%. That is with under half a month to go. That's with a couple stat holidays in there. That is pretty spooky, let me tell you guys.
Oh, I know, and I have not even penciled in the day that I'm doing my challenge on. So I don't know. I might be the one loony in the loser bin. Who knows?
Well, I mean, if you're there in the loony bin, I'm right there with you because I also have not penciled it in, and mine is 2. And also, I need to be very specific with when I time it because weather and traffic conditions affect the outcome of mine because just doing it is not enough for mine. So, yeah, it's a bad day to be a single event man.
Yeah, it is definitely scary.
That is true. You have to be calculated on this one and actually be shooting for precision, which is very interesting. And I mean, Brian, yours is just outwards bonkers. So I can't wait to see what you try to do on that day. And when you pencil it in, I'll be watching. Let's just say I'm gonna get Reeves to get a camera on you and go after it.
Yeah, I might have to live stream the whole thing.
Oh yeah, that'd be a nice live stream, nice and sweaty. And then last but not least, I have to call him out. Charlie, under mileage right now for the month. He's got 310 on the docket and he's just about a quarter, or yeah, I'd give him a third of the way through. So yeah, he joined me for a couple miles yesterday, which were some fun and tough miles. But I mean, yeah, I know he's gonna pull through and do something probably just as belligerent and do, a big chunk on a couple days in a row there. But yeah, he's a slacker these days, I'd say.
Yeah, Charlie is the last thing I would define, or I would define him as a slacker, like last on the list of things that I could describe him as. But interesting to know that he's a slightly under mileage.
He's trying to spook us all, I think, with his final couple weeks of belligerency, I think.
True, true. Well, talking about like final weeks and just yeah, some of the interesting things. Did you guys both look and review your year in review with Strava? Were there any like interesting findings that you had?
I think my most interesting finding was Gizzard the Lizard, BIM CEO, was my top training partner. So that was pretty exciting to see.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Do you know roughly how many runs Gizzard went on?
It was about 45 runs for Gizzard the Lizard. So she had a pretty good year.
Damn, Gizmo is yeah, that's a lot of training. I'm like that's more than one run like every other week, almost a run a week. That's freaky.
Yeah, it's not too bad considering.
Sure.
For context, Gizzard the Lizard, BIM CEO, is Gizmo the Shiba, for those that don't know, but I'm sure most of you do know. But yeah, especially considering she took a lot of the summer off because she's not a big fan of the heat, like myself. So yeah, I think she had a pretty good year.
I mean, yeah, probably more running miles than me in the last couple months. So big shout out to the friggin' CEO, that's for sure. I don't know, not much to say on my year in sport review because I'm a no paying man. So I'm in the dark. I have no idea.
Sorry, what? Is that now a feature that's only available to paying Strava Premium people?
Only to the subs. Yep. They're pushing me. Even actually after yesterday's run, they're like, "Oh, see where this chalks up on your year of end review. Subscribe now." I said, "Nope. See you later."
That's honestly like okay. Of course, it would be nice for you to have that, but I actually think like of many things that Strava Premium offers, that's actually a pretty good sell at the year, like at the end of the year, even if you just went on for 1 month to get that. Like I think they're probably doing pretty well converting people over.
Oh, 100%. I would do it, But I'm like, no, I'm boycotting Strava. I've been boycotting it for the whole year, and I'm just going to keep it going. I have my nice Excel sheet. I'm going to stick to the Excel sheet.
So what does your Excel year in review show you? Any interesting findings, insights?
Yeah, it shows that I trained for an Ironman, and then I stopped tracking after August 3rd. So I have no
So
idea.
so basically your Excel sheet thinks you died at the end of August, basically.
Exactly. That's exactly what happened.
Nice, nice.
I feel like we might be ready to get into it, and you kind of teased it. You chatted about you checking the checkbox on your winter challenge, but I feel like we've talked to you a little bit. You've sent us some images. You were keeping us updated on the stories, but I feel like we need to jump into your Ottawa Ultra. I was actually in Quebec City this weekend, so I was seeing live the coldness and the snow that was coming down. So I know the weather conditions were not super ideal over the weekend. So yeah, jump us into the weekend, tell us about it, and kind of everything you went through.
Yeah, the weekend, to say the least, was nice and frigid and exciting. But yeah, to start with the weather, I guess in Ottawa there was, so the Saturday, the day before, I attempted to do this 50K, which was the Sunday. So the Saturday before, we got a good dumping of snow, which actually I didn't expect, but a good, I'd say 5 to 10 centimeters of snow. So it was quite the snowfall. And I was just thinking, oh God, this every step is going to be heinous on the Sunday. So, and it was. We got a lot of snow. It was very nice trails out there, but yeah, the conditions were snowy, not just snowy, but very cold. So actually on the Sunday, like the Saturday night into the Sunday, cooled down crazy. I think I took a picture. We started, it was -16, felt like -20, I think. So, had all the layers packed, 3 or 4 pairs of clothes. And yeah, so started at 7 a.m., kind of just as the sun was coming up. And we decided to do a looped course. Very thankfully, we did a looped course around, basically with Mustafa's residence as a home base slash den for the between the loops. And yeah, I thought it was going to be really hard to get back out there after, you do a loop, you come inside, you get warm, and then you set yourself to get back out there. But it was very good, actually. I'm really happy that we did that. And, not staying, we treated it like an aid station. So not staying there too long, I think, was the key to actually making it back out there. But yeah, it was, I guess, the longest. I know we did of course, Andrew, you did the 100K last year, and technically distance wise, me and Brian hit, I think, about 52K. So technically not my longest run, but definitely harder based on the trail conditions and as you could see on the stories that I was posting, thanks to some assistance. And also elevation wise, we hit over 1,000 meters of elevation, which was just wild to me. And yeah, it was quite the day.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, that elevation and the conditions, I know you guys were like looking and reviewing the weather leading into it because you're out there for basically the whole day. And had it been like terrible, like freezing rain or something, you would have called an audible, I'm sure. But it seemed to, from the perspective of like precipitation, be pretty good. I would imagine the wind wasn't like too bad either. I didn't hear any complaints about that. But let's talk about the elevation. What was it like doing a run? Like that was your most elevation ever in a run. What was it like?
Oh yeah, it was for sure. I guess, and just a little piece on that wind. So the reason, yeah, so a good thing we were in the trails, let's call it, was because there was no wind. In the sun, it was, let's say it was cold, but it was comfortable. We were all dressed pretty well for the weather. No, I guess, major complaints, no wind. So it was, yeah, perfect. Later on in the day, we did decide to hit the road for some obvious reasons. And that's actually when I got the most cold, was dealing with the wind on the regular roads. But yeah, the elevation was pretty crazy. I realized pretty quickly that it wasn't going to be a full run type of day, and not to look at my pace, because Mustafa did a great job at pacing. He stayed on the front basically the whole day. And thankfully, he honestly made me probably pass through that whole run with like getting through all those kilometers, because I didn't realize, basically every uphill we would, it's a fast walk, and you're not trying to run through those hills because they would come after you after a while. And like each loop was about 350 meters of elevation. So it was quite a bit of ups, some downs, of course. And then, have to watch your footing because of the snow and the trees everywhere, basically. So yeah, the elevation was a game changer. I think honestly, it was so much different than a road run in general, not even just a long run, but a road run, that like different parts of my body today, this is one day later, like I've never felt these types of aches and pains before on any event or any activity ever. So it's very interesting to feel those. And I think honestly, it'll just give me it's giving me a little bit of info for every time now, of course, with this registration for an trail ultra in the summer. I could take some of these lessons learned and, apply them for my summer training. So yeah, elevation was crazy. A lot of like rock walking up these steep peaks, and also obviously trying to gather your grip on the snowy trails up a high slope was pretty tough.
One thing that I do want to give you a kudos on, and this is doing some investigation, because as soon as I was refreshing my Strava, when I knew you were done, you posted the challenge complete, just waiting for that to upload. But I do see your moving time was 7:12, but the elapsed time was just 7:48. So it does seem like you minimized kind of the aid station time just to 30 minutes, especially with the cold, kind of doing some changes. So I think that's pretty impressive. But to kind of turn the page and move on from those kudos, I see a prompt here. And in our our script is, how did your training lead into this event look like? So I want to ask you, what did yours look like? And for people that want to do something similar, maybe how would you recommend it be different, or what would you recommend them actually doing?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And actually, I posted that. I honestly didn't really dive into the stats, and I should. But yeah, I was trying to be mindful of the elapsed time. I knew that the longer we would be stopped at, in the house or on the trail at a fork in the road, that like it would just make you want to stop even more. So I was really trying to minimize that, and talking with the guys at the aid stations that we were doing inside the house. Okay, guys, let's go. Just one more drink and let's get this show on the road, kind of thing. But yeah, I think what I did leading up to this, let's say, is not optimal for an ultra. And I was telling Juicy that the day before, I was telling her that I was like kind of very nervous and like starting to have second guesses about, what I was about to try to do, I guess. And I guess rightfully so. It was obviously hard, and no training really specifically to that whatsoever. Like I was checking my mileage, and I think, Andrew, I sent you a picture of my progress on Strava. It's like 10 to 12K a week for the past month or so. And then just go out there and do an ultra, I think is not really optimal. Looking at a fellow participant in part of this challenge, aka Kyle, he also did very little training leading up to it, and lasted a half marathon worth, I guess, and let's call it smartly stopped his run after 1.5 loops. So I mean, I'm very happy he joined us for those 1.5 loops. That was fun. But yeah, he had his limit and stayed, I guess, within that space where he could be completed without, getting a medevac or anything like that. So yeah, I think leading up to it, definitely some more running. And I think actually that just with the amount of, let's call it, training and fitness I gained throughout the summer, that I was able to, let's say, squeak by and get through that pretty unscathed. And like today I'm very sore, but I don't feel any pain or like unusual injuries, let's call them, that is surfacing, which I'm very grateful for. But I mean, I think that's the risk there, is you could risk that injury during/after. And then also, I think honestly, it just minimizes the pain afterwards. Like I don't know if I'm in more pain than, let's call it, any other race I've done, but I'm, like I said earlier, I'm in different types of pain. So I think doing more mileage leading up to it, I might have been less in pain and been more like less in shambles afterwards, let's say.
Yeah, that's fair. And I was just looking at your Strava, like you do have the last or like we'll call it the first week of October was the last time you had over 5 hours. But really, like you say, the bulk of your
And that was a
mileage, and that
marathon.
was oh,
I did
okay.
a marathon that
So
week.
then you, yeah, basically the last time you like seriously were training was July, which is crazy that you were able to kind of pull this out of a hat. It goes to show like you've got the mental strength, but and I guess you do have enough baseline fitness to get through this kind of thing. What would you say was the most difficult part for you? Because you had people who were dropping like flies. You started with a big gang. I didn't know, like Kyle, I assume was supposed to actually do more than what he aimed or what he actually did, and then Mustafa stayed with you as people started flaking out, what was your mind saying and what was that most difficult part?
Yeah, so I think Kyle was definitely wanting to do more, let's call it, but he called it quits after his, I think it was his calf was really bugging him. So yeah, he ended up leaving, just under 2 laps in. But I think the plan was for Mustafa to join me for the full thing. And I think Charlie was going to as well, but because of weather and stuff with logistics, he couldn't make it till the next morning. But yeah, I think that was mentally a little bit tough. Was like seeing people leave and stay in the warmth, go get a meal was a bit like oh, I wish I could be doing that. But I think I don't know. I set my mind to doing 50, so I think I was like on plan to know it was going to be a long day out there, and no matter what, I was going to try to finish it as much as possible. And I think maybe a little bit my perception of time or mindset is a little skewed because of these longer races I've done. This is definitely the longest I've ever been on my feet. Let's call it running. But yeah, like I was just telling myself, 2 more hours was a loop, for example. So like I was like, okay, 2 more hours, we'll get it done. 2 more hours, we'll do another. So I think chunking it up, we've always talked about that, right? Chunking it up in sections was like the best way for me to mentally take a bite out of those chunks. And I think every 10K too, we would verbally say like, okay, we're, 20 down, 30 down, 40 down. And then we just made sure to just keep chugging along. And then, yeah, being there, being accountable with others was the best way to do it. And nothing better than just to feel that pain train with everybody else. So it was good.
I think one of my favorite things you just said there was, let's call it running. Too funny. But you mentioned others, and I think that's kind of one of the main reasons why we enjoy doing kind of endurance sports at Boys in Motion is kind of doing it with other people and friends, family, and meeting new people through the process. But I would love to hear if you have any like nuggets of gold, any cool, funny stories of suffering together through the day. Because yeah, you did, like you mentioned, you had a huge crew there with you. So I'd love to hear some of those stories.
Yeah, so very fortunate. A fellow guest on the podcast, actually, Hussein, joined us as well. Kind of a last minute, hey, I'm in moment. And he did the first loop with us and then decided that he would finish his run on the treadmill. So we did have him for the first loop, and then he did another half marathon indoors, let's call it. So very happy he showed up. It was a lot of fun. Again, I think we were the most off the beginning with about 6 of us. So just every vibes were high. It was very early in the morning. Everybody's fired up, ready to go out there. And it was really nice. Obviously, the first lap, we were alone basically on the trails with just a bunch of deer. Alex, one of our good endurance friends, also he was hilarious. He made a good point. I don't know if you guys ever been to Omega Park. It's like a zoo that you drive through in northern in Montebello, close to Montreal or Tremblant, I mean. And you basically drive through this zoo, let's call it, but it's all the animals are obviously free, and like elk and deer come up to your car, you could feed them. There's wolves in some dens nearby, but it's just funny how he said we saw so many deer out there. He's like, I feel like I'm at Omega Park, but the deer are watching me. So it was because there were just deer everywhere, just staring at us, like running through the trail. So that was really funny to see, like really nice to be obviously in the outdoors, and a lot different than road running. And yeah, a lot of fun. I think another funny moment was on the second loop. It started getting pretty busy, so we started at 7:15. So at around 10:15, the park started getting busier, and there was a couple sections where we would cross the actual like ski road. So like I know I don't know if you've been there, Andy, but like the road that we ride on, Brian, is basically snow packed and like groomed trails for skiers.
Right.
So we have to like cross them, like cross the road, kind of like deer. Just look both ways, cross, and keep going through the trail. But I discovered quickly, and I've heard rumors that hikers/runners are not welcome in the park in the winter, because they ruin the trails. So I'm going to put that in quotations because, yeah, apparently we ruined the trails, and we did get a bit of beef when we were crossing those ski roads. And I felt like bandits, actually, like running through those busier sections of the trails. A lot of comments and a lot of people like, hey, and you do need a pass to ski there and to use the groomed trails. And like the one trail we were using was very close to residential, so people walk their dogs in there. You don't really need a pass. But once you get into the park, they expect you to have just like a day pass, whatever, or a yearly pass. But yeah, we were getting the friggin' side eye. People were like, "Where's your pass?" And some people, like, we crossed the road, some guy heckled at us riding through with his skis. He's like, "The NCC is out. They're coming to get you." And I'm like, "What the heck?" And then we just kept running. It was really
That's
fun.
so weird that like I get that they want to protect their paths, but like part of the beauty of Gatineau Park is that it's accessible to everybody except for cars most of the time. So thanks to the NCC for that. But that's just crazy that they'd be ticked that you're basically like you're not even like trampling their steps. Like sure you're like nearby, but like at the end of the day you're mostly just running in trails that are hiking trails.
Yeah, like we were never on ski trails or never wrecking, the ski paths. But, and then even there's like volunteer medics that snowshoe through the trails, I guess. So even a medic stopped us. She's like, "You guys should be having snowshoes on this trail to not wreck the trail for others." And then Gatineau Park veteran told me later on, Alex, but he only joined us for the first little bit. He told us that those trails were packed enough to be on there with shoes. So we were not in the wrong. There's like a set of rules, like it's very, very unique and very intense. And he told us, though, the conditions on the day we were allowed to trail run in there based on his expertise. So I still don't think we were in the wrong. But yeah, that was a little bit of a funny tidbit. Like I thought I was a bandit trying to escape the friggin' cops out there, like just rummaging through the trails. And honestly, other than a fat biker, but they're not very like, what do you call it, like agile, because they're on a path and they can't move. I felt kind of invincible because we were the only ones running. You can outrun skis, on those small paths, I'm saying. You could outrun snowshoers, and then the fat bikers could only meander their way around prudently. So we were laughing out there. It was nice.
So the NCC advocates, were the grumpy Quebecers that were in the Strava comments? Okay,
Oh,
that's good.
exactly. Yes, they're the grumpy ones. But I mean, we were trying to be civil out there. We were being nice to everybody. So yeah, just some people don't know how to have a nice day. But we were putting those miles in. Let's just say. So that's, I guess, a part. Let's call it now my final. Let's call it the third loop, the third/final road section, is another reason why we made it the third lap. Unconventional was we started in the park, like I said, close to Mustafa's house, kind of near the residential area where I guess we wouldn't get bugged and we wouldn't cross any of those main roads. And then we decided, we were honestly like, I'm just looking through the kilometers, like probably from 40, between like 35 to 40, we were walking a lot of those miles because a lot of them were uphill, and we just couldn't run. And obviously the legs were feeling it at that time. So it was funny. We were kind of like towing the idea of like going onto the road. We're like, okay, no, we'll just do another little lap. And then like me and Mustafa just like convinced ourselves, let's call it, pretty easily, to be like, okay, let's just finish on the road. So with about 9K left, we stopped at the house for actually the, halfway through the third lap. We stopped by the house to re-up our waters because actually the water was frozen. So that's another. I know we talked about it, I think last episode, Andrew, where the nutrition freezes at those temperatures and other things you have to worry about that you usually don't have to. So we re-upped our waters and then finished on the road for that last 7 to 9K. And it was quite funny that thinking like, oh, a 9K we were almost there. Because sometimes I go out, you go out on the road for a 5 to 7K and that's your run for the day. So 9K to finish off the day felt a little weird, but yeah, we got it done. A little bit more windy on the road, but also I think I texted you too, Andrew. I was like, I've never tried so hard to run a 7 minute per K. That was quite the experience.
And that's where the quote, "Let's call it running," comes in. Let's call it running.
Exactly.
So I've got to ask, in hindsight, for yourself, what would you have done differently leading into this event? And second part to that question, what advice would you give to somebody who wants to do like winter trails?
Yeah, that's good actually. So something I do different would obviously get some more mileage in, but also I think maybe plan the route a little bit better and foresee maybe some of those challenges we were going to get with going deeper into the park. Make sure we were, let's call it, in sanctioned trails ready for us to run in. But I think generally very well organized, of course, by Mustafa. I actually basically went in there blind. I've probably trail ran twice in my life. So it was, I think, as good as it could have got for me, to be honest, with the amount of preparation I've done. So I think another thing there, of course, is just having a bit more prep, being a little bit more ready. Nutrition wise, I was pretty good. Underhydrated, I think, just because of the cold. So maybe that's one thing to take away for others as well, as just make sure you're hydrated, enough electrolytes in you. I know we've talked about it as well with winter running. You never feel like drinking, but you got to try to stay hydrated there. I think I took under 3 liters of water for the whole day. So I think I had about, I had, yeah, 2.5 liters of water, to be honest. So it was quite the camel day, let's call it. But yeah, I think staying hydrated, having dry clothes, which I think I did very well, which I'm fortunate for. Every loop, I would change almost basically the full outfit. I actually wish I had another windbreaker because I would swap between a windbreaker and a vest that I had. But yeah, I think fresh set of clothes, new socks, different pairs of shoes, I think are very important for those types of conditions where you're wet, but you're also going back into the cold after sweating. So I think a big thing, yeah, is trying to stay dry as best as possible.
Nice. Well, yeah, I think overall, it's definitely different. Like you said, I think you mentioned it earlier in the episode that it's different than running on the road. It definitely like takes a little bit of time for your body and your ligaments and your tendons to start feeling used to that new kind of surface. What is your body feeling today, 24 hours after finishing?
Geez, I mean, right after, honestly, I didn't feel too bad. I think because of the soft surfaces. I think right after my the road ultra we did, the legs were a little bit more in shambles. Let's call it minute zero after. This one, all day long you were on those soft cushiony surfaces, very uneven but very cushiony. So no blisters, no issues, let's call it impact wise, but I've never had my feet in so much pain. I think even I was discussing with someone last week that like after the Ironman Ottawa, like my feet were in a lot of pain and toes, but this is a million times worse. I think knowing like I could feel every little muscle and bone on the top of the foot, everything on the sides, the ankles, everything is very sore. And even putting socks and shoes on is like very tender. So yeah, I think just getting used to that stability, always like micro adjusting every single step you're doing for obviously for 7.5 hours was the toll I think on the feet. And the hips are very sore as well. Not hurt, or they're not in pain, but I'm walking like an old man. I think marathon wise, because I know you've have done some pretty freaky marathons, let's call it. Marathon wise, the hips feel very similar, but it's just a bit more heavy. But I don't know if you guys had that foot problem, but the feet are very, very sore.
Yeah, I feel like that is pretty unique to like more trail, like what you've done, where one elevation and the different of kind of terrain. Where when we did our road ultra last winter, it was all perfectly flat on nice trails, nice padded trails by the snow. So I feel like I personally didn't have that, and it was more similar to just normal road running, but just longer. So I do think that's pretty unique to trails.
The actual snow trail. Yeah, like I was telling Mustafa, actually we were finishing up that 9K, kind of like what we were doing, like, the like kind of like the Allenberg path, and between Port Colborne and Thorold, kind of that plowed snowy path. We were kind of on there for the final 9K, and I was doing the Andy Man shuffle. It was like Mustafa was like in the, let's call it the salted lane, where like you actually had to take the steps. I'm like, oh no, you got to do the Andy Man shuffle. I was just the whole time. I was like, this is nice. I could do this all day long, baby.
I mean, shout out to all those skiers who were yelling at you. You just needed to throw on a pair of cross country boys and you'd be with them yelling at trail runners.
Exactly. It was real nice. I mean, that's just also another thing is it was kind of cool adapting to different terrains. So, going from the hillside and the steep ups and downs and snowy packed trails to fully scraped roads. You actually have to lift your leg, and then to that skating motion where you're just trying to stay afloat and just shuffling your way through those miles. So it was pretty interesting to get a little bit of a taste of everything, especially wearing trail shoes and different types of trail shoes on the same day. Yeah, a lot of lessons learned, and I think honestly it'll just help me put some tools in that tool chest ready for the summer. I'm very excited to start that summer training, to be honest.
Nice. Well, yeah, it must feel good to have that check on the December challenge, something that Brian and I certainly do not have currently. But I do want to bring up the top comment from your December challenge Strava post. And this is quite fitting for the Taper King himself. And that was from B, good friend of the pod, who said, now you can taper for the rest of 2025. So you finally earned that taper that you love oh so much.
Yeah, as soon as I saw that, you're right. I said top comment of the post for sure. She hit it right on the nose with that. And yes, I'll take that taper for the rest of the year. But unfortunately, that just gave me the itch to start again. So I mean, I might hold it back for another 14 days, but I mean, I'm just itching to get back at it. And I told Kyle today too, he was in the hurt locker today as well. And I told him, Kyle, what's the next freaky thing we're going to do? Because you didn't do your 50K.
So is Kyle a part of the challenge? Was that his aim to do a 50K?
So he is not on the books in the challenge. So he does not owe the December challenge gods anything. So I cannot be too mad at him. But of course, I'm always going to chirp a boy when I can.
So you said you're itching, and I'm kind of curious, either the rest of December or maybe 2026. Is there any interesting news or anything kind of in the pipeline for you in the endurance world?
Well, early 2026, I think I'm going to keep it low key, going to start training again, going to get back on that good life. But I told myself I wouldn't be doing another marathon. But very interestingly, I did get selected, entered the lottery for Chicago Marathon 2026, and I did get that selection picked. So to my surprise, I will be running a fall marathon 2026. So I'm itching for that. I'm already looking at the race course, already have hotels booked, and I'm ready to rumble.
Yeah, love to hear it. Got the news from other friend of the pod, Nick, who's also got in. So he's, I think, a little bit more nervous about it because he's never done a marathon. This will be his first marathon, and going through the actual process of doing the training
That
for the
is so
marathon.
sick.
But yeah, I think it's very likely that I will go to Chicago, and hopefully I will run the 5K on the Saturday. If all
5K
things work
marathon?
out. The 5K marathon. So I might completely shift my focus for 2026 for that 5K marathon to be in peak fitness. But we'll see. We'll see what 2026 holds.
That's crazy. I didn't know about the 5K potential on the table. That's nice. I sadly got the rejection letter. I was smiling when I received it, so obviously I wasn't too torn up about it. But then when I heard that you, Tyler, got in and Nick got in, I was a little disappointed that I wouldn't be joining you on your travels, but I'll be cheering from afar. But yeah, it seems like it's going to be quite the race, and who knows, maybe a PR for you, Tyler, if your taper ends early.
Yeah, so that I think I'm gonna actually, hey, shout out to a past episode. I think I'm gonna utilize AI and I'm gonna try to amalgamate. I'm an amalgamation king for double training plans at once, but I'm gonna try to at least I'm doing one sport this time. I'm going to amalgamate that ultra training, which ends 8 weeks before the Chicago Marathon. So I'm going to try to mix in that trail ultra with the marathon block. I think it'll work out. We'll see what happens. I told myself the next marathon block would be, a standalone marathon block, not for dessert, like I like to call it. This is kind of still dessert, but I mean, I'll have a good base with the trail running. I still not sure if I want to do a race at the ultra or an A race at the marathon, or maybe hey, there's something called double A race, so I might also do that. Just full send both and see what happens. But yeah, very interesting back end of 2026 to say the least, and yeah, very excited to see Nick out there as well. We have a personal coach, Runnerman Andy, and the endurance king himself. So I think we'll be in good hands. And I mean, nothing better than doing your first marathon in Chicago for him. So I think he'll be like, if he does another one in Canada, he'll be like, what's this? Because all I've heard was good things about Chicago. So very excited. And yeah, Christmas came early, that's for sure.
I find it pretty funny that you're doing an ultra with a ton of elevation, and then as dessert, it's not even like you're doing a marathon like Ottawa, where like the doing elevation, training those muscles will be super advantageous. You're just going to the complete opposite, pancake flat. So I think it's good. I think it's a very interesting schedule, but I'm about it. Chicago Marathon is great. It's the only time I've negative split a marathon, and I've been chasing that feeling ever since. So I'm hoping you and Nick both get negative splits that day.
100%. Yeah, and with all that elevation training, that 30 meters of elevation at the Chicago Marathon isn't going to know what hit him.
Frig, I go from 2,200 meters of elevation to 200 feet of elevation. That's going to be real nice. I won't know what to do with it.
Well, I kind of forgot that you're doing this big ultra in 2026. So how, like, based on yesterday's experience, how nervous slash excited are you for?
That's a good way to, that's literally a good way to sum it up. I'm nervous slash excited. I mean, I do have let's call it a baseline, if that's a baseline, if you want to call it that. It's not going to be anywhere close to what I just did. I think much harder, of course, because it's literally double the elevation, which I can't even wrap my head around, but also no snow, but again, very technical. So I'm not sure. I think I'm very excited to let's call it turn this new page in the book, because I'm all in for the trail running, but also nervous to kind of open up that can of worms and see what trail running is all about, because I realized really quickly yesterday that it's not about running fast. I was like, well, I guess with a long sleeve, it's easy. I just hid the watch for the rest of the day. I would just look at the time, because I'd look at my pace in like 10 minutes per kilometer. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? But like, you're going up a hillside. So I think there'll be lots of that and lots of learning on how to pace yourself through these hilly courses. So I think big learning curve there, but then also switching the brain back to road racing will also be a very interesting dynamic on trying to get the speed back in me. And I'm full of speed.
Yeah, full of speed. That's how I define you. Look at your Strava and it's like either no running or slow running. It's very nice. But you know what? It's I just gotta say congratulations on finishing your December challenge. I'm jealous of you now that it's in the rear view mirror for you. And I know that Andy and I are kind of shaking on our boots because now the first domino has fallen, and that only means that our big days are coming sooner.
Yeah, the thing is, we're laughing, but we're both in the hot seat now. Your December challenge is done. You're into slumber, and the two of us, the work hasn't even started. So, I mean, yeah, now you can laugh at us.
I'm relaxing. I'm planning my 2026 training program on my nice Excel sheet, and you guys are shaking in your boots, let me tell you.
For sure, for sure. One other cool thing that I saw, because this is sort of a chat time episode, that I wanted to ask you guys if you had seen. There is a Instagram page that basically does the investigation between chip time versus posted Strava time. Have you seen this?
I have not.
No, what is this?
Give us the rundown.
Is this on Instagram?
Yes, it is on Instagram. And yeah, it's like a quite a popular like Instagram. It's like growing really rapidly. It's called Official Unofficial Time. It's only got 13 posts so far, and I don't think like they've been doing it for too long. And in these through these 13 posts, they've already gained 18,000 followers, and their like mission is to protect the integrity of the marathon by upholding chip times and exposing Strava inflation. I thought Andrew, you might really like this one. They had to
This is cool.
they had to add a disclaimer of like this page is satirical because I think they had a bunch of people like complaining because they'll like actually like build these like case file looking carousel images, and it's like, this is the subject, this is their bib, here is all of the evidence.
That's too funny.
And like what they find, and it's just hilarious. Like they'll find people who like say that they ran like a I don't know, like a 3 hour marathon or sub three, and turns out that they like skipped some of the mileage and they're not showing up on some of the like timing blocks and that sort of thing. Or they're finding like ghost runners, like people who are trying to like get qualifying times for other people. It's just very
That's
interesting.
so funny.
Yeah.
For internal use only, it says. And it says, I like this part. It says, the official marathon time integrity unit. That's what they're called.
Yeah.
I mean, I like it. It's not the heroes. What's the saying? Not the heroes we want, but the hero we are. Not the heroes we deserve, but the heroes we want, or the opposite. But it's someone's got to be doing that work. Can't be getting cheated when we're trying to get our Boston qualifier time. So, I mean, if no one's doing the work, Tyler's never gonna get that Boston qualifying time.
That's it.
So we got to call out those cheaters.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all in for this. As long as I'm not a next case study, I'm in.
Yeah.
Oh no.
I don't think you'll be a case study, but if you ever show out of this or like show up on this, you're out of the pod immediately. Booted. Well, like some of them are crazy. Like some of them are like people who actually didn't finish, like they DNF, and then their Instagram is like 259.
I'm going to go through all of these. This is hilarious.
Yeah, I got a good laugh out of it, and I figured like you guys and other people would definitely get a kick out of it.
And like you said, 13 posts. Who knows when what's their first post? What day? October 15th, and already over 17,000 followers. So, I mean, this will stick, I think.
Yeah, they're definitely doing something right. It's hilarious. And I love like the how official every single post looks. It's just great.
This is amazing. I love it. I think this is a good spot to wrap it up today. That's a wrap on this chat time / race recap / December challenge update. I'm excited to see the progress in the next week. We're getting into those stat days, aka Christmas, so it's going to start getting spooky to get those challenge days in. I mean, it'll also be pretty fun because in the next week or so we'll be all together in BIM Nation. So excited to maybe get some in-person runs as well. And yeah, great chatting with you boys today.
I love the sound of that. So if you've listened to this whole episode, make sure you share it with a friend who would enjoy the banter as well. Check out some of the stuff we mentioned, the Instagram, and make sure that if you're in the December challenge, that you don't sleep on it, because that one day spook might happen on New Year's Eve, and you don't want that.
And just a weekly reminder that we're not medical professionals or your coaches, and always consult qualified expert before doing any crazy things. And if you're considering doing a big ultra, maybe consider doing a training run or two. It might help.
That's a good one.
Great idea. Train smart. Exactly. Train smart. Stay consistent, like I've been doing. 100 meters a week, and whatever path you choose, stay in motion.